Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a single, frankly, captivating moment in woodworking. We're going to peel back the layers on what it truly means to build, to create, and to work with your hands. So, let's just dive right in. Now, here's a question that's sparked debate for centuries, right? Is working with wood just a mechanical trade, driven by measurements, rigid tools, and physics? Or is it a refined art form that relies on intuition, a feel for the grain, and creative vision? Today, we're visually investigating this exact question. We're going to break down one frozen moment in time to see exactly where that line between trade and art gets, well, totally blurred. Take a look right here. This is our sole subjective study for the explainer today. We've got a woodworker completely in the zone standing at a heavy wooden workbench. And honestly, in this one fraction of a second, we get the whole story. We've got the industrial power tools, the raw organic materials, the safety gear, and most importantly, that intensely focused human element right in the middle, pulling it all together. We're going to deconstruct exactly what's going on here. So let's start by looking at the art and the trade. What's really fascinating is how you can practically split the elements on the screen right down the middle. On the trade side, you've got your rigid mechanical necessities. I'm talking battery-powered drill, the heavy-duty workbench, the clear safety glasses. These are literally the tools of industry, right? But then, look over at the art side. Notice the artisan's incredibly focused posture, that super careful, almost gentle placement of his left hand on the timber, and of course, the beautiful aesthetic grain of the wood itself. It's this perfect, delicate balancing act. Let's zoom in on those undeniable symbols of a modern trade for a second. Check out the protective safety glasses shielding his eyes, and that bright yellow power drill in his right hand. I mean, these aren't romantic 18th century hand tools. These are highly efficient, modern devices built for pure power and repetition. They represent that gritty, industrial, hard labor side of carpentry. Which brings us to a crucial point. How do we actually define what's happening in front of us? Well, based just on what we're observing right now, we can define craftsmanship as the seamless merging of these unforgiving, specialized mechanical tools with the soft, totally unpredictable organic material of the wood. The craftsman is literally the bridge between the machine and nature. That naturally leads us into our next piece, precision and focus. Just look at the artisan's intense downward gaze from under that round cap. Before that drill bit even thinks about biting into the wood, his eyes have already done the heavy lifting. He's visually mapping the exact point of entry, he's calculating the angle, and he's anticipating the resistance of the grain. That kind of laser-focused visual concentration, it's the absolute prerequisite for any physical action in a woodshop. And it's vital to remember that a power drill doesn't just operate itself. Honestly, a drill is a remarkably dumb instrument. It literally just spins. The accuracy, the angle, the precise depth of that hole, that comes entirely from the person holding it. The machine gives you the power, sure, but the human provides the precision. Let's actually break down the microactions happening in this still frame. First, his left hand is securing that thin strip of timber to the bench, making sure it doesn't spin out or slide. Second, his right hand and his eye are aligning that bit perfectly vertical to the surface. And third, his shoulder and arm are applying a very specific, controlled downward pressure. Too much pressure, the wood splits. Too little, the bit wanders off. It's a seriously delicate kinetic dance. I noticed this incredible detail. Look at the stark difference between his two hands. His left hand is bare, fingers splayed out, pressing gently but firmly directly onto the raw wood. It's a highly tactile sensory connection. He can literally feel the vibration and the texture of the material. But then you look at his right hand, and it's closed tight, locked completely around a hard plastic and rubber drill handle. One hand is feeling the art, while the other is driving the trade. How cool is that? Okay, moving on to the tools and raw materials. Taking a quick visual inventory of the space gives us such a great sense of the environment. You've got the yellow power drill and the safety glasses on the craftsman. You've got the heavy, beautifully worn wooden workbench anchoring the whole scene. Over to the right, there's a pile of fresh, curled wood shavings. And in the background, leaning against the wall, we see raw planks waiting their turn, and slightly above those, a really neat rack of wall-mounted hand tools. It's an environment that is 100% dedicated to creation. Now, conceptually, this right here is the absolute epicenter of the action for our explainer today. That exact point where the dark, spiraled metal drill bit pierces the light, organic grain of the wood. It's the literal intersection of industrial manufacturing and natural growth. The metal is designed to dominate the wood, for sure, but the craftsman has to understand the wood's grain to make sure it accepts that metal without cracking.
And take a look at the byproduct of this work. On the right side of the workbench, sitting right next to a heavy, cold metal clamp or vise, we have this gorgeous pile of curled wood shavings. They look almost sculptural, don't they? It's funny, even the waste material in carpentry has this undeniable organic beauty to it, especially sitting there in sharp contrast to the heavy metal hardware of the bench.
Which brings us to our final point, the essence of craftsmanship. Because what we're witnessing here isn't just someone doing chores. This isn't just mindless manual labor. Every single drilled hole, every scattered wood shaving on that bench is a highly deliberate act of transformation. He's actively taking something that grew out in a forest, something wild and natural, and he's using human ingenuity to transform it into something completely new, functional and structured. If we look past the immediate action of the drill for a second, we can see those raw planks leaning against the back wall. They're just quietly waiting. They represent pure potential. You see, the action we're analyzing right now is just one tiny step in a much longer narrative. The craftsman is shaping the present piece, but his environment is already stocked with the future of his art. So I want to leave you with this final thought as we wrap up the explainer today. Look closely at this scene one last time. Think about the power drill and the safety glasses. Think about the intense gaze and that gentle left hand feeling the wood grain. Are we watching a mechanic executing a task, an artist bringing a vision to life, or are we witnessing someone who is inextricably, beautifully both? The trade gives him the power to build, but the art gives him the reason to create. Thanks for joining me, and as always, keep looking closely at the world around you.